Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to make the first poll chosen ice cream, which is Butterscotch Honeycomb. So to make this ice cream, we're going to need to do a few things. We're going to need to make butterscotch, obviously. We're going to make honeycomb or Cinder Toffee or Hokey Pokey, whatever you call it, wherever you live. And we're going to need to make our ice cream. We're also going to do something special at the end when we dish it up. So what are we going to need for all of these components? For the butterscotch, we're going to need 150 grams of brown sugar, 90 grams of butter, and 90 grams of cream. So let's start with that one before we move on to the next step. Butterscotch doesn't have to be difficult to make, so we're going to put all of our stuff into the pan and heat it all up. We're going to start with our sugar and then add in our cream, finishing off with our butter, and turn on the hob. And we're just going to leave it there and boil it for about 3 to 4 minutes. So we'll come back once that's done. There we go. So we've got the butterscotch just starting to boil now. Just going to turn the heat down a little bit and keep it there for 3 to 4 minutes. So as we're not making butterscotch candies, we don't need to worry about the temperature of the sugar. All we're trying to do is bring the flavors together because we're going to put it in the rest of our ice cream base ingredients. So after a few minutes of that, we're going to take it off the heat and get started on the next stage. So now that our butterscotch is sitting there just chilling out for a few minutes, we're going to get our ingredients for our ice cream base in the pan on the hob, and we're going to incorporate that butterscotch into this base. So what do we need for the ice cream? We're going to need 350 grams of milk, 350 grams of cream at 33% fat, 80 grams of brown sugar, 10 grams of dextrose, 90 grams of our butterscotch sauce, 55 grams of skim milk powder, and 1.5 grams of your stabilizer if you're going to use it. If you're not going to use a stabilizer, then I recommend adding 2 egg yolks to the base just to give the emulsification required. With our butterscotch just staying warm on the top there, and our milk and cream here just gently warming up, what we've got here is our brown sugar, our dextrose, and our stabilizer. So we're going to just give that a nice little mix together. Make sure that stabilizer is completely combined with the sugars. We do that just to make sure that the stabilizer doesn't clump as soon as it goes into our liquid. And there we go, we're going to put that straight into our dairy, and this is just our milk powder, nothing special added in there, and we're going to put that straight in there as well. And what we're going to do is gently bring that up to temperature. What we're going to do is gently combine those ingredients first, just for a couple of minutes, and what we're looking to do is to dissolve that milk powder into our milk and cream and get those lumps of brown sugar dissolved in there as well. That will take just a couple of minutes of stirring. And whilst that's warming up, we're going to turn that off and weigh out 90 grams of our butterscotch sauce, lovely and thick. There we go, 90 grams. And then we're just going to add that in. Make sure you get all of that in there. Let's just get a spoon. We don't want to waste any of this. Lovely. And keep stirring that until it comes up to your 80 to 85 centigrade to make sure that your stabilizer is properly hydrated. Then you're going to take it off the heat and store it in the fridge. And for the honeycomb candy, you're going to need 200 grams of standard white sugar, 100 grams of golden syrup, and 10 grams of baking soda. And that's the same as bicarbonate of soda if you're in Europe. And right here is when I am just about to put baking powder into my honeycomb. As you can see, it's completely flat, very few air bubbles in there. Hey, this kind of thing happens occasionally, but we're gonna pour it into a pan and just see what it looks like anyway. But let's start again. What we're gonna do is add our sugar into the pan, and to that, we're gonna add in our golden syrup. This is just Rogers golden syrup, straight from Walmart, nothing special. Like so. And we're gonna warm all of this up to somewhere around 140 to 150 degrees centigrade. Okay, now we're ready. We're gonna turn the heat off and add in the right ingredient. And we're gonna stir it. Now that the honeycomb has completely cooled down, you can see we've got two very different things. I didn't realize I put the wrong thing in here until it was too late, but I thought we'd compare them while we're stood here. Obviously there's a very distinct difference. Baking powder is a very different thing to baking soda, and this is the kind of result. It's completely flat, very little air in there, and obviously this is the correct one. Just before we go any further, what does this one taste like? Tastes okay, actually. It still tastes like it should. Doesn't have anywhere near as much air in it, but the air it does have is very consistent. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of a UK crunchy bar. It's the same type of bubbles, same taste. Makes me wonder. Not gonna waste that. But that's not what we came here for. We came here for the more traditional, I'm going to call it honeycomb because that's what we call it back in England, but I guess let's call it honeycomb toffee. What we need to do is we need to cut this up, store what we're not going to use here in an airtight container. We're going to powder some and put the rest away. So let's get cutting. The ice cream is completely chilled in the fridge. We've got a machine here ready to go. We've got our remaining butterscotch sauce here. Just going to show you, this has been out, not been in the fridge, this has been out overnight. As you can see, it's just got a bit of drag to it. Get the light reflecting on it so you can see it's just pourable. And we've got our powder. We're going to use the powder later, so put that aside. Let's get the ice cream base out. We'll give it one final stir, make sure it's all completely loose. We'll get the machine chilled down and get it churned. We're in the last few minutes of churning. Just going to take our butterscotch sauce and pop it in the microwave just for a few seconds to loosen up just a touch more. We don't really want to heat this up too much. There we go. That was just 10-second blast in the microwave. Obviously you're looking at sugar here. It doesn't take long to heat up. So we've just loosened it up. It's probably something like 25, 30 degrees, something like that. There we go. You can just see the pouring consistency. Hold on. almost there. What we're going to do, once this is ready, we're going to load in our tub, and then we're going to layer in our beautiful butterscotch sauce in between, get it in the freezer to completely harden off. Right, our ice cream is completely frozen. I had to turn the freezer down a bit. This is a high pack ice cream, so a lot of sugar in it. So it will take a while to freeze. I think it's, what we have, 4 hours, I guess that's about right. We've got everything we need here to make a really pretty bowl of ice cream. We've got our refined coconut oil. I don't want anything to taste of coconut unless I choose to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some 70% chocolate, going to take a few butterscotch chocolate chips straight from Bolt Barn. We've got our butterscotch sauce, we've got our powdered honeycomb, we've got the finished honeycomb. Let's just get started. So in a microwave bowl, you don't have to be exact for this, we just want to put enough in there. It's probably something like 50 grams worth. Let's add a few of the butterscotch. This is just to add a bit of the butterscotch flavour. So there's probably about 20-25 grams of the butterscotch chips in there. We're going to take, I don't want to use that spoon, or whatever, don't make any difference, does it? We're going to take some of our refined coconut oil. So that's about 10 grams. We're going to pop all of that in the microwave to melt. And there we go. That took about a minute in various lengths. So you did 10-15 second stints. And there we go. We're melted. Does it? It's got a tinge of butterscotch to it. That's nice. Right. It's a very English word to say, isn't it? Butterscotch. Anyway, let's get the ice cream out. Let's prepare. We've got a powdered. Get rid of that. We've got a butterscotch sauce. Probably can't see that on camera, but let's just get that there. We're gonna take a piece of that from there. We're gonna move these out of the way, like that. And let's dish up. And there we go. Butterscotch honeycomb ice cream with a butterscotch chocolate crackle top and chocolate decorated honeycomb. There we go. I was just saying to Stace that it was about time I did, you know, something that looked quite pretty. So here it is. I'll put you've seen the B-roll, I've just put it up. But this is the second attempt at this ice cream. The first attempt didn't make it to camera. It failed miserably for a really weird reason. I'll probably do a little short on that at another time, but this one has turned out perfectly. The honeycomb turned out perfectly second time around. Interestingly enough though, the failed honeycomb, as I said earlier in the video, is incredibly good. It's just like crunchy. just like a crunchy bar. So I might make crunchy bars in a video. Anyway, enough talk. Let's destroy this work of art and see what it tastes like. It's buttery. It's got like a caramel smoothness to it. It's my wife is making, you know, lovely kind of expressions behind the camera. But it's that butterscotch taste is different to caramel. You know, the difference between butterscotch and caramel is pretty much just the sugar. Butterscotch uses brown sugar, caramel doesn't. You can treat them in exactly the same way, but the honeycomb flecks over the top, you get that touch of almost burnt sugar from the honeycomb coming around, that drizzle over the top of the chocolate. The chocolate cracks beautifully well. You can use coconut oil, olive oil, any oil essentially, but obviously if you use an oil that's got a flavour, then you're going to impart that flavour into the chocolate. The butterscotch swirl. Now, in the process of adding the butterscotch swirl to the ice cream, I affected the crystal structure of the butterscotch sauce. As you noted, it did run. Now it's kind of gone hard-ish, you know, it's gone crystally, which is kind of what you don't want to happen when you're making caramel, because you don't want that lumpy hard sugar to reform, and that's essentially what you're doing when butterscotch or caramel gets affected by a non-melted piece of sugar. That hard lump of sugar will then affect the crystal structure of the rest of your caramel and it'll make it all go back to that original state, so it'll all go crystalline. In this kind of situation, doesn't matter, it's the leftovers. I'm just going to eat it straight out the tub, but a lot of work, damn good ice cream. The melting chocolate is a doddle to make, you know. You're doing three things. You're making the honeycomb, you're making the ice cream, you're making the butterscotch. Play with what you got, this is the result. Really bloody good ice cream. I want to thank my Ko-fi supporters and YouTube supporters. You couldn't do this without you. It costs a lot of money to make these ice creams, so thank you ever so much for your support. It is really, really appreciated. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, then why the hell not? And how did you get this far in this video without subscribing? So come on, play the game, subscribe, like, share, do all that shit. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.